It's time now for the best high school sports action from the WBCB Sports Network. Catch the best games from Bucks and Mercer County at WBCBSports.com and our Facebook page. Your home for high school sports is right here at WBCB 1490.
Yes, we have the Hightstown Boys Basketball team and Coach Don D'Elia with us. Keith Noonan with you. Another preview show, this time a Hightstown edition. This is sponsored in part by Capital Health, the Mercer County prosecutor, his office, Angelo Onifree, New Jersey Education Association, and Simplicity Funeral Home. And I can only see Brianne for some reason right now. Now I just switched. Okay, there we go. We're back in action. Yeah, Coach, this is live. So, you're just telling the players, they can't laugh. Right. It seems like these shows go this way. But, because you have experience, you were moonlighting as one of my color analysts just last year. And I see you parlay that into, a head coaching job. No, I'm just kidding. But it's great. It's great to have you here and talk a little bit about the players that you brought here tonight.
First and foremost, thank you for having us. With me today, I have Senior Captain Robert Eves, Senior Captain Keenan Reese, and other Senior Captain Orlando Hernandez.
All right, awesome. So let's get into last year a little bit before we preview this year. Kind of a strange year for you guys because you finished 13-12, and you went on an 8-game winning streak during that season. But then you lost 9 of the last 11 games. So walk us through kind of what happened last year because you guys obviously, you had some talent. You're expected to be good again this year. So walk us through kind of that last season.
Well, to start the year, we were kind of bit by the COVID bug. We didn't play our first 2 games of the year. Our first game of the year actually was down in Wildwood versus Archbishop Carroll from Philadelphia. We already played 3 or 4 games. So we kind of got off to a weird start. We played Carroll, played Shawnee, played 3 or 4 schools that were just ahead of us in games and just, a little bit more polished. So we started the year off a little rough, a little shaky. And then, as you said, we went on an 8-game winning streak where during that time, we played our best basketball. Down the stretch, we unfortunately lost some seniors that ended up leaving the team. That kind of played a little bit into our scheme came a little bit different. I think you guys had us against Notre Dame when, we came back from, 17-18 down in the third, those seniors were still playing and they were contributing and we were great. And, as pieces went away, we became a little bit different. So down the stretch, we were a different team than we were during that 8-game winning streak.
Yeah, obviously, you mentioned COVID and things like that. I mean, early in the season, a lot of teams dealt with that as well. And it was a struggle. I mean, there's no question about that. So you hope that things are much better this year. I mean, we're going to have the crowds back to capacity. So it should be a different year as far as that goes. But you're also facing a very tough conference this year. I mean, this is the best this conference has looked in quite a while. So your expectations, how are you going to top some of these teams that are pretty tough?
It's funny you say that, right? I actually was just at Ewing today scouting another team that were playing Saturday versus Ewing and, just looking at them and realizing that, unfortunately, this year there are no nights off in the CVC. Every night's going to be a battle. Every night's going to be a war. Every night we're going to need to prepare, different ways and different schemes. And, I think that for us, it's hard to know what's going on with everyone else. But, right now we're just trying to prepare one game at a time.
And so, looking at your schedule, like you said, I mean, you're not the first coach to say this, that there's not really going to be a night off. When you evaluate your team, how well do you think they stack up with all these different types of schemes? I mean, you have the Trenton where they're going to really rush up the floor, play really fast, as opposed to maybe a Nottingham team. They might just play however they feel they're going to attack this other team. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, a lot of new players for some of these schools as well. So how does your team kind of stack up?
It's hard to say, right? I think that, ultimately with all the schools having different schemes or different styles, for us, one thing that we've kind of tried to do besides the 1 year we ran the hockey lineup, right? The 5 in, 5 out, we've always tried to kind of say, hey, listen, if tonight's a night that we have to play fast, we're going to play fast. And if it's a night we have to kind of slow down and play in the half court, we will do that. So I think that for us, it's going to be scouting and seeing what style is going to help us be, most successful at that night.
Orlando, I'll start with you. With practice and early on so far, what is Coach DeLeo kind of like in the early practices?
The early practices?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's very engaged. He's making sure the team is doing what they have to do to be ready for this game that's coming up on Friday and Saturday.
Is there any kind of look ahead? Like we just talked about the schedule and whatnot. I mean, how focused are you just about this first game? You've got 2 games in 2 days, and it's a quick turnaround. So what's the focus early on here?
The focus is we got to win. It's that simple.
And I like too, because last time, Coach, we did this, and some of the players were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna win all this and that," and you're trying to, temper the expectations.
About being very humble and close to the vest before this, so that's our answer. Yes.
Fantastic. Keenan, you're kind of a guard, right? You run a lot of the offensive sets and everything like that. So what do you make of the team so far? I mean, what are you seeing out of the guys early on here?
A lot of the younger kids, like the juniors, have been stepping up a lot lately. And one of the juniors you're seeing, he actually took the starting guard. Well, not the starting guard. Like, I just switched positions with him, so he's been handling the ball, and he's been doing really good with it.
What would you say you bring to the table, Keenan, that maybe other teammates might bring something else, but what is it specifically for you that you pride yourself on to really help the squad?
Well, I think my playmaking, I always look to find the open person whenever they're open, and always make the extra pass.
And now you over to Robert. Obviously, you're down low, man. So like you're going to be relied on to pick up a lot of the boards, some of the loose balls. I mean, what's your main role on this team that you feel like you could really engineer for this team?
Like you said, rebounding the ball. I think that's probably my biggest part because I'm the rebounder of the team and try to get as many rebounds as I can.
What would you say the differences are, Robert, for this team as opposed to maybe last year? You got some different pieces in there. What's the chemistry been like? I mean, tell the audience a little bit about what this team's been kind of working on.
The chemistry for this team this year is probably one of the best. I mean, we've been, like good off and on the court. We're kind of like, together. We've been together like for a long time now since like Krebs. So it's pretty good.
That's our middle school, if you didn't know.
Great. That was my next question. Great job, Coach. You're picking right up on it. Well, Coach, how would you describe that? I mean, like I said, you've got some pieces in there. You've got some returners, of course, but there's a little bit of a difference. So what are the differences? What could be the strengths of this team this year that maybe were not quite so last year?
I think first and foremost, this is probably like the most connected group I've ever had. Again, it's my first 4-year group. I always say to you guys, I truly believe that you guys care about one another. You want to see each other do well. And we always say to each other, is it about you or about us, right? And this group really does care for one another. They don't care who scores. They don't care who shines. They just want to win. They want to win together. I think some of the strengths that we have this year with this group is, we have a good, strong senior core with Robert and Keenan, who played varsity the last 2 years. Orlando a little bit last year as a junior. Ultimately, Hightstown kids always play hard. So, traditionally we've always just kind of played hard, and that's kind of, I'm pretty lucky that when I got here, that was kind of ingrained into our culture. I think that, we're going to play hard. We have some good senior leadership, and we have some young guys that have really worked on their game over the summer. We did a lot, in June, July, and August, and then also played in the fall league. So we've played a lot of games, and those guys that are a little bit inexperienced have kind of sped up that process by playing, in fall league and spring league and summer league and all that.
Well, it's funny because the first time that I met you, and legitimately the first time that we met, it was on the floor before a game at Hightstown. And literally I said, hey, you have the starters. And you go, well, yeah, but like, you're going to want this. And you handed me a laminated sheet of paper with essentially line changes, like a hockey coach.
Yes.
So do we anticipate being a team like that, or is there going to be more of a set lineup this year?
So to touch on that briefly, during COVID with the, no playoffs, only playing, 13 games, really wanted to make it about, everyone playing, getting out there, just being a part of it. That's why we kind of went to that style, the Grinnell style. But since that season, we have gone back to more of a traditional style. Obviously, last year we played, maybe 7 or 8 guys, 9 guys, running traditional sets, continuity offense. We're going to be, again, back to the looking to score in transition when we can. If we don't have it, we're going to pull it out. We're going to run something. We're very big on, I don't want to go down the floor and run a set every time. These guys, they hate that, right? It's just, no one wants to be like, all right, coach, coach wants to do A, B, and C, right? The game is changing. We use the word flow here. We're just flowing. We're playing. I'm giving these guys a lot more freedom to make plays for one another.
So that's a perfect jumping off point, right? I mean, Orlando, do you feel that where you kind of like that freedom where that coach isn't going to be calling out an offensive play every possession down and you guys can just kind of play free? I mean, how big of an impact is that on players?
I think it has a big impact on players because it gives everybody get touches with the ball, and all of our teams are unselfish. We all swing the ball, so it creates openings and allows us to score points easier.
Well, now, to be devil's advocate here, I mean, if there's too much passing, do you feel that could be a problem as well, or do you feel like the chemistry is good enough to where the open shot is coming and you guys are going to take it?
Yeah, I feel like the chemistry is good enough. We're definitely going to find an open shot.
Keenan, what's your take on what the team looks like, whether it be defensively, offensively, where you've been around, you've been with Coach DeLeo before. So how do you feel about this team and the way that things are operating so far?
I think our defensive side of the game is going to be really good this year. We have a lot of good defenders on the team, and we all hustle for every loose ball. We all go box out and rebound. We all just hustle down the court every time, offense, defense.
And Robert, for you, I mean, I assume that you're going to be relied on not just for the rebounding, but down in the paint, down on the block, trying to defend, getting blocks and maybe causing turnovers. And coach is saying no. So
go ahead, Robert. Tell them what we do. Tell them how we do things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think everybody's going to be like taking charges this year, which is our biggest thing. And yeah, we're probably going to have the most charges in the CBC.
That fascinates me. I mean, if you want him to expand, go ahead.
Do you remember last year I said I actually gave you the stats?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
So we have this. So in football, there's a turnover chain, right? And they wear it, whatever, on the sideline. We have a charge chain that pretty much that whoever takes the most charges in the game gets to wear it. And the funny part is like we've become so like ingrained to it that like we don't even say take a charge. We just start kind of going chain to know that like it's coming. Give your body up, And right now, I think in the preseason we've taken maybe in 4 games, maybe like 8 to 10 charges. I mean, and another 3 or 4 of them weren't charges; they were blocks. But like guys are trying to give their body up. We believe here that taking a charge is probably one of the biggest momentum swings you can have. One, it gives another team, it gives them a foul on one of their best players. Team foul going the other way, So we really believe in taking charges here at Hightstown.
My best friend is a huge component of that. Officials love if it's like whether it be the strikeout call as opposed to a walk, the charge call as opposed to a block. He believes that the officials like to call whatever that big thing is. So you might be right. I mean, you might want to, just force it on the official to make a call. And yes, I do recall that you would always give me an updated stat of how many charges you took. I mean, as a player for you guys, we could just go around. What is that is about this team that they're so willing to take the charges?
I think that it kind of just shows their teammates how much they care about one another when you're willing to give your body up, right? I think that like it's probably the most unselfish thing you can do on a basketball court, even more than passing the ball. I think that like literally you could easily just kind of move out the way, kind of take a swipe, but if you're putting your chest in front of someone and taking the hit, and then obviously your 4 teammates are running over to pick you up, I think there's no better, better unselfish play in basketball.
Do you worry about officials going too much one way or the other? I mean, are there certain officials that maybe you might not be able to get a lot of charges against, or is there like a self-scouting of officials as well in certain games and certain aspects?
I mean, honestly, I think it really the official doesn't really play a big part in if it's a charge or not. It's really just a matter of our guys setting our feet, getting our chest in front, and the offensive player being out of control. for the most part, we've never really had an issue with officials not calling a charge or calling a block too much. We've been pretty fortunate that we've had we have some good officials in the CBC that call the game as fairly as possible.
I wasn't saying that the officials were ruling it unfairly or anything like that, but I wonder, and it's a thing where, I mean, you obviously brought it back to the fundamentals, right? You're saying if we do it correctly, the officials aren't going to have a choice. They're going to call it correctly. But those calls, I feel like a lot of them are very bang, bang and 50-50. So I just wonder if that ever plays. I mean, as players, I've heard NFL players say, hey, I'm going up for an interception, but it crept in my mind that they might call me for a penalty. So they kind of ease up on it. Is there any thought? Orlando, we'll start with you. Is there any thought, when you're about to take the charge, you obviously see the player coming, that you might end up being on the wrong side of it?
I feel like, yeah, but if I step in front of them, I feel like it's more of a chance if I know that I did what I had to do correctly, that they're going to make the right call.
And Keenan, kind of same thing for you. You feel like if you do everything right, you're not concerned about the ramifications.
Yeah, if they call a blocking foul, we're just going to get up and keep playing because we're going to get a charging foul at some point, so we're just going to keep taking them.
Yeah.
And obviously, coach will be very much on them if he feels that they don't call it the right way.
We have turned over a new leaf this year, Keith. We're going to be very. Oh, these are our friends. We're going to be very calm, cool, collected, and we're going to coach our guys up.
Very good. Back to you, Robert. I want to talk a little bit offense. What's this offense going to look like with you kind of in the center of it?
Well, mostly it's going to be like, I might be down low or outside. I'm just going to be like interchanging with between me and Orlando. So yeah, it's going to be more spacing and moving around offense.
We're not trying to give too much away, Coach. We got Lawrence in 2 days. Keeping it tight to the vest here on that one.
That's typical. And I try to ask these specific questions mainly for me, so that I could try to figure out what's going on here. But is this can you give me some strengths that are, that you see that maybe, you've got a couple of good 3-point shooting guys. You've got obviously Robert and Orlando who are going to be potentially down low. They're going to be big bodies for you. Give us a sense of how you might play a certain way.
Listen, it's no secret that, a lot of our offense is going to play through Keenan and Robert, primary ball handler, primary big, one of the better bigs in the CBC, but the interesting is going back to the whole, the flow thing and playing off one another, we've been really working on a lot of different actions, just kind of reading and reacting what the defense may give you, 45 cuts, drift action, whatever the case may be, these guys have been really, been good with that. And I think that, obviously one of our strengths is post presence. I think this might be one of the years that we're not as strong shooting from the 3 line. I think that might, obviously in years past, we've shot 100 of them in a game and during Grinnell, and that was, wild. We're going to look for the best possible shot each time down the floor.
Well, that's interesting. So it sounds to me like it might be a little bit slower pace than maybe I imagined, but you never know. What is, Orlando, we'll go back to you. What has the practices been like here? You're getting ready. Obviously, you've got a few days before the first game. How intense has practice been? Have you guys been ramping up? Obviously, what are the? You just finished practice now, so what has the intensity level been like, and how ready are you guys ready? To go.
I feel like the intensity level is high, and everybody's ready, and definitely trying to do what they have to do to be ready for the game on Friday.
What was the one thing you might have worked on personally that you feel is better this year than it might have been last year?
Being a good captain, making sure that all my teammates have their head picking their heads up, nobody has their head hanging, and making sure that everybody's doing the right thing.
So maybe a little bit more talkative, a little more vocal with the guys than maybe you would have been last year.
Yeah.
Keenan, for you, you obviously were a leader last year. You had a lot of really, really good games, and you performed very well. So I wonder for you, when you think about last year transitioning into this year, what do you take away from last year that maybe you think that you're even better at this year?
This year, I really think my playmaking, like I said before, Like my passing accuracy has just been so much better in the passes I've been making. But also like I'm trying to lift all my teammates' confidence up to shoot the ball whenever they're open, take the open shot, drive to the lane when they feel like they can. So like just raising their confidence is a big play and my big role on my part.
Robert, how about for you? Any goals for you that you kind of set for yourself? I mean, obviously, winning. Every player wants to win. I mean, that's the public relations answer number one. But for you, any personal things that you sought out to work on that you feel like you've accomplished that you've become better at for this year?
I'd probably say my confidence. I want to be as confident as I could on the court, kind of help us, win. And then also staying positive and being as positive, towards my teammates and, throughout the game, keeping composed, being composed.
Coach, how about for you? Anything that you look back last year and say, man, I wish maybe I did this differently, or maybe I could change this a little bit or tweak this a little bit? I mean, what's your self-evaluation as you go into another year where it's going to be hard fought? I mean, we've talked about it. A lot of these teams, there's no real night off. So what do you make of anything that you would maybe tweak for yourself?
I think obviously, we as a coaching staff, we've talked about, we want to be as prepared as possible. In years past, we get out and scout, we go watch games live, making sure that we as coaches are prepared and putting these guys in the best spots possible. Maybe I could change from last year, probably going a little bit more post-present. I thought maybe that towards when we were really good, we got it inside to this guy, right? And I think at times we got away from that. We kind of live and died by a three. And that's why this year, we definitely have put a focus on post passing and post entries and, different sets for him and stuff like that. So I think maybe a little bit more inside out game for us this year than last year.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the schedule, I mean, you guys are playing a lot of games, and you mentioned a couple of years ago it was only like 13 games. So what's the difference? I mean, obviously, there's a big difference when you're coaching a team that there's no chance at the playoffs because there is none, and now you have this where you're trying to win as many games, possibly get in. Obviously, Mercer County tournament's a big deal. So the ramp up obviously is important, right? Because you want to get off to a good start. But when you've got a bunch of games to play down the stretch and some back-to-back, what's the coaching point there?
I mean, for the back-to-backs, it's always looking, never looking past the first one, right? Friday night's super important. As you said, with MCTs, it has, big implications. I mean, Lawrence, Hightstown, two teams that are trying to be in that top 8 to play, to play at the arena. Ultimately for us, these back-to-backs, we're just taking it one game at a time, trying to prepare for them both at the same time if we can, watching film, working on attacking their defenses, stuff like that. It's pretty, we're excited for a big year. There's a lot, we have a lot of non-conference games that are showcase based. That's, for our seniors to be seen by college coaches. Obviously Robert Eves is already committed to go to Montclair State next year to play college basketball. Keenan's looking to play at the next level. Orlando maybe looking to play the next level next year. Ultimately for me, like when we play these non-conference games, I don't play them to like just get wins. I want to put them in the right atmosphere, the right situation, help us prepare for hopefully the MCTs and the state playoffs. So I'm excited for our schedule.
So you just dropped some news. So Robert is playing basketball at Montclair, you said, right?
Yeah, we'll be a Red Hawk next year.
Awesome. So let me ask you about that then, Robert, because obviously that's great news. Congratulations, first off. And secondly, what went into that decision?
I mean, once I saw the college, after, I've seen it online and a couple of friends have told me about it. I really liked the college and I went up for a visit and I just loved it. So I knew that was the place I kind of wanted to go to.
Awesome. So, and for you guys, I mean, Keenan, Orlando, you guys, any college thoughts yet or any kind of offers or anything that you guys are thinking of?
Yeah, I'm trying to play in college. Right now I'm just thinking about where's the best place for me to go and where I can be my best at.
Awesome.
Right now, I'm still trying to figure out if I want to play in college or not.
Yeah, I mean that's always the tough decision. I ask a lot of players, and they're a lot of them are on the fence. They're not sure, and they got to try to find the right fit. And obviously, Robert says he did, which is obviously great. And I mean that's kind of what you look for. I mean, Coach, I wonder for you, I'm sure that the players talk to you about these kind of things. Hey, I really like this and all these different scenarios. So, I mean, what's kind of your guidance to when a player says, "Hey, I'm looking to play"? What's your advice to them?
I mean, it starts freshman year. I mean, I remember when Robert, Keenan, and Orlando were freshmen, and their goal was to play at the next level. And I said, okay, well, you say you want to play at the next level, but are you willing to do what it takes to get there, right? Robert's summer wasn't beach trips, it wasn't water park, it wasn't like chilling with friends all the time. It was summer camps.
Water park.
It wasn't AAU tournaments. It was AAU tournaments. It was training. It was fall. It was summer league. He did both of these guys. Have done that over the summer. That like they proved to me the last 2 years that that's what they want to do. I think that ultimately, here at Hightstown, we've had some really good players that just ended up saying, "Hey, I'm going to go to school," and that's great. Ultimately, you have to want to do it. I always tell our guys that after you finish playing here for 4 years, you're either going to say, "I really love basketball and I want to continue to do it," or I just want to be a normal student, right? And I think that in the past we've had some guys that were really good that went on to go to school, and then now I have this group that really wants to play at the next level, and they've done the necessary things to get there.
So, final question for the players. Orlando, we'll go in the same order. We'll start with you. I mean, obviously, senior year, the last go around. Do you put more pressure maybe on yourself? I mean, what are you thinking as you approach this last year?
Yeah, I feel like this is the last season. You can't redo your senior year of high school. So, got to make it count. Got to do everything that in my power that I can do to make sure it's the best.
Anything that you're thinking about as far as whether it be winning the MCTs, getting to a certain point in the playoffs? Do you let your mind go that far?
Yeah, we all have our goals. I definitely want to win MCTs and definitely at least make it to the arena.
No question. I've heard that from other teams as well. Other players, they just said, I haven't gotten a chance to play in the arena, and I'd love to do so. Keenan, for you, I mean, same question. What are you thinking about as far as where the season you'd like it to go?
I really hope we do well this year, and I think we will. And since this is my senior season, I really want to go out with a bang and not have a down season. So I'm just trying to push everybody at their best, push myself as well, so that we don't have a down season.
And Robert, obviously, you're playing at the next level. That you're going to continue to play, but it's still your final high school season, obviously, with your guys. So, what are you thinking about?
I mean, it's not a lot of pressure for me. It's like more I'm just excited to see what's gonna go down. I kind of, like they said, want to go win MCTs, go out with a bang, try to do our best, and have the best season we've ever had. So.
Coach, we'll wrap it up with you. I mean, don't give me the coach speak of we're just trying to win on Friday. We know you're trying to win every game, but when you think back to last year and you lost, a couple of tough games, I mean, what are you thinking that this team could really accomplish?
I think we have a good chance to compete in our division, in the county, and in our section. I think that we've got some good senior leadership that's going to help us down the line. We've got a tough non-conference schedule that's hopefully going to make us better for it when we get to MCTs and the Central Jersey Group Force.
What does this team have to do? This is the final question. What does this team have to do to win those close games against these really tough opponents? What's the thing that can stand out for you that maybe you'll look back at and say, we need to do this just a little bit better? What's the one thing?
Attention to detail. I think the little things always matter most when you win and lose, right? Just knowing how to run a set the correct way, the timing on a back door, whatever the case may be. Those little details matter so much, even though they're just so small.
No question. Well, I appreciate your guys' time, and we'll be seeing you for plenty of games for Hightstown this season. So I am looking forward to it as well. And maybe you hop on the mic, at some point this season.
Whenever you guys need me, whenever Fish isn't around, I'll step in.
Well, he's worried you're going to take his job, so
he should be worried.
All right, Hightstown. Thank you very much. We appreciate the time. This is sponsored once again by Capital Health, Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, New Jersey Education Association, and by Simplicity Funeral Home. This has been the Hightstown Preview Show here on the WBCB Sports Network.